competency is the engine of teaching, connection is the fuel, because students don't learn from teachers they don't trust. They learn from those who see them, hear them, and believe in them. Connection is the bridge between information and transformation. It's what turns discipline into respect and respect into inspiration. When a teacher connects, truly connects, students don't just remember the lesson, they remember the feeling being valued, understood, and capable. In this series, we'll explore how to build classroom covenants that inspire students' ownership, how to turn discipline into self-leadership, how to understand emotional, developmental, and attachment needs. Teach not just for grades, but also for growth. Great teachers don't just fill minds, they touch hearts. That's the power of connection, and it's the secret to lasting influence. Welcome to Connection Courses 1. Discipline is not about control, it's about cultivating community. Imagine walking into a classroom where students manage themselves, not because they fear punishment, but because they understand purpose. Where rules aren't shouted, they are shared. Where discipline isn't imposed, it's agreed upon. That's not a dream. It's what happens when teachers build a classroom covenant instead of enforcing classroom control. Welcome to course number 1 of the Connection Pathway, Creating a Classroom Covenant. Values and codes for proactive discipline. When students make the rules, they don't just obey them, they own them. Across Ghana, and indeed the world over, many classrooms still operate on reactive discipline, punishment after misbehavior. But research from the American Psychological Association shows that proactive discipline builds shared expectations before conflict and reduces behavioral incidences by up to 46% and increases learning engagement. A case study here in Ghana, in a JHS classroom in Koforidua, a teacher replaced rules with class covenants. Instead of posting, "Don't talk when I'm talking," students co-created statements such as, "We listen to understand. We respect each other's voice." Within 6 weeks, disruptions dropped by 60%. Why? Ownership builds accountability. You cannot teach character by enforcing fear. You teach it by modeling trust. What's the one classroom rule that you currently enforce for students that you could instead co-create with the students? A classroom covenant is not a list or a tall list of do's and don'ts. It's a shared agreement, a social contract between students and teachers on how we want to live and learn together. Think about it as a mini consultation that sets the tone for respect, cooperation, and growth. They include shared values. What matters to us? Example, respect, honesty, effort. Mutual agreement. What are we all committing to doing? Shared responsibility. What happens when we forget our promise? A teacher in Tamale asked students, "What kind of class do we want to be proud of?" They drew pictures of their ideal class and summarized the shared traits. The results became their classroom covenant, complete with student signatures. The outcome was that instead of reacting to noise, she could now say, "Remember our covenant. We agreed to them. We agreed to listen." Discipline is not the absence of freedom. It is the structure that makes freedom possible. Let me take that again. Discipline is not the absence of freedom. It is the structure that makes freedom possible. Write 3 questions you'd ask your class to help co-create your covenant next term. Or you can start today. It's never too late to create a classroom covenant. Why does a classroom covenant work better than punishment? Because it taps into 3 psychological truths about students. The first one is that people support what they help to create, right? When students co-design the rules, compliance becomes cooperation. Number 2, autonomy breeds responsibility. When students feel trusted, they act trustworthy. Number 3, belonging reduces misbehavior. A student who feels seen doesn't need to seek attention negatively. According to CISEL, which is a collaborative for academic, social, and emotional learning survey, classrooms emphasizing shared agreements see 30% fewer disciplinary referrals. Show 2 classrooms side by side. One where rules are dictated, sit down, stop talking, stop shouting, and the other where rules are co-created, let's pause and reset together. Rules without relationship breeds rebellion. Here's how you can create your own classroom covenant. Step number 1, start with a visioning exercise or a visualization exercise. Ask your class, using some of the breathing exercises we've been practicing, what kind of class do you want to create? Allow them to sit with no encumbrances, close their eyes gently, breathe in deeply, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, take about 5 deep breaths, and now visualize the kind of classroom that they want to co-create with you. Encourage visual words and metaphors. Students now can draw it and write 3 qualities of a great class. For example, kindness, effort, teamwork, and post them around the classroom to remember them. Step number 2, translate values into behaviors. So ask them, for example, what does respect look like? We would even go further and say, what does it sound like? What does responsibility sound like? What does it feel like? So let's assume a value such as respect. A behavior will be to listen without interrupting, right? No matter who's speaking and what they're saying and how they're saying it, you listen without interrupting. A value for responsibility would be we do our best work and own our mistakes, right? This way, the children begin to speak the truth and they're more vulnerable with the truth. Number 3, you co-create consequences. Ask them, what happens when we forget our covenants? Guide students towards restorative, not punitive solutions. Example, you apologize, you do a service, or create a reflective journal. Step number 4, seal it with ownership. Let every student sign or put a handprint on the poster. Display it visibly and refer to it as often as you need to. A teacher in Kumasi added photos of students around their covenant wall. They called it our promise to each other. Class disruptions fell drastically. Discipline is not about punishment, it's about teaching. Before we leave today, design a classroom covenant draft, a template to test with your next group. A covenant only works if it's alive. Revisit it regularly, especially when things go wrong. An idea could be to begin each class or each term with a covenant refresher. End each week with a covenant check-in reflection. Highlight covenant champions, students who consistently modeled the shared values. In a primary school in Ho, a teacher began Friday assemblies with who lived our values best this week. It created a ripple effect where students started holding each other accountable. What we celebrate, we replicate. So celebrate what you want to see replicated. Pick one covenant ritual you'll introduce, be it a weekly reflection, a value spotlight, or class check-in. What would your classroom feel like if every rule comes from shared values instead of imposed control? When discipline moves from punishment to partnership, classrooms become communities, and when students feel ownership, behavior transforms naturally. The best discipline problems are the ones that never happen because trust was built first. So as you plan your next right move, ask yourself, how can I move from commanding compliance to cultivating commitment? What's the one rule I'll co-create with my students this week? Drop it in the comment. Drop the one rule that you co-create with your students this week. Let us all know. Let us learn from one another. Even as you like, subscribe, and share this course with other teachers that you may know. That would be all for creating classroom covenants with your students. We believe that we've been helpful. We would like to see some of the created classroom covenants all around. So take a picture. You may IG, like WhatsApp it to us. You may place it in the comment. You may put it on any of our social media platforms and tag at LeaderFreak. And we will be happy to give you all the funds that you need. Thank you again for spending this time with us. We do appreciate you, and we look forward to you joining the next course on proactive discipline and student ownership. See you soon.